Men, I know a lot of you train very, very hard, and it's admirable. However, that mindset could be harnessed to really level up the amount of improvements that you're getting when you are training. Now, what I mean by this is typically those that train hard usually often change their training sessions up pretty regularly. And with that approach, I like to call it a jack of all trades approach. You don't really improve a lot in one area. However, you may make tiny, tiny improvements across 20 or 30 different areas, 20 or 30 different exercises, 10 different components of fitness. And the problem with this is your body just doesn't know what's going on. And now you may think that's great, I'm training to be ready for anything. And it's okay for probably a small part of your overall training program. But the question I have for you is, how are you measuring your performance? Are you measuring your performance off feel? I feel stronger today with a sandbag on my shoulder, doing sprints all around the gym, followed by kettlebell swings, pull-ups, and then some weights. I feel better today doing this. If that's how you measure your performance, it's not good enough. And there's a lot of people like this. There's a lot of people that train really hard, but they just mix it up every training session because they get bored very easily. And training is boring for a lot of people. So what I do in this scenario, when I'm coaching individuals like this, I just say to them, look, you're going to be training hard. Training hard is the most important thing. However, the second most important thing is being able to measure your progress specifically to your goals. Now, if you want to improve your speed, you want to improve your agility, you want to improve your strength, numbers matter. But if you want to reduce pain, then obviously feelings matter. You want to be able to sprint without pain. You want to be able to run upstairs without pain. You want to be able to change direction without knee pain. So I'm open-minded to listening to people's opinion on this. However, I've literally come to the conclusion now. The solution is following a program and not changing it much. The boring approach. And by all means, every single exercise is done with a very high intensity to tick that intensity box. But the reason this is so effective is week by week, you can see your progress across a multitude of different exercises. Forming the foundations of strength, progressing it onto explosive strength, power, then speed is the right way to do business. Not simply having, 2 or 3 months off, doing some sprints, doing some muscular endurance, doing some power, doing some, strength work. It's too much. And it just doesn't get you good at anything. And I'm sure that you all want to be good at anything, and you deserve to be good at a lot of things. It just needs a bit more of a measured approach. Now, I always say on this channel, I always say intensity is the most important thing. But this approach is like a bull in a china shop. And, you know, sometimes people do get very robust bodies from this approach. But what happens a lot of the time is they just don't really improve a lot. They don't really improve a lot. Like, they don't really improve much. Their strength, their numbers don't really go up. Their endurance doesn't really go up. Their running times don't really go down. Their speed doesn't really... But they're usually quite robust individuals, you know. They don't really get much injuries. But if you want to improve one area, and then maybe in a few months' time, really improve another area, then another area, for example, a component of fitness, a measured approach is really, really important. And an example of how not to do this would be starting your programming with endurance and then progressing it onto power and then going on to speed. That's the bull in a china shop approach. Doing an endurance session on Monday, Tuesday doing sprint work, Wednesday doing strength. It's just carnage. It's just absolute carnage. If you were doing any other endeavour in life and you would really want to be better at skiing, but you know, you were just doing other sports or doing other different, you were doing downhill skiing, you were doing alpine skiing on a Tuesday, you were doing cross country skiing on a Wednesday, and on a Thursday you were doing something else. You were doing like ski park type of skills and drills and techniques. You wouldn't improve much in one area. You would literally be just completely flatline in every one. You would maybe improve your technique slightly on alpine, then the next day you do downhill, you do cross country. It's completely different stuff. Your body, your mind just doesn't know what's going on. It doesn't know where to make the positive adaptations. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same with physical training. If you're doing the different exercises every single week and you're hitting different components of fitness every single day, it may feel like the right thing to do. But if you focus on one, it's like trying to lose weight and bulk at the same time. It's like doing no carbs on one day, then doing high carbs the next day, then doing keto the day after that, then doing caveman after that, then doing paleo the day after that, then doing vegan the day after that, and then on a Sunday doing vegetarian. Your body's just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You're lunatic. And I welcome lunatics, but I like to harness that. Like the lunatic approach, it's very broad a lot of the times, and it's very sporadic, and I like to channel it in very laser focused on, you know, the weak joints, making them strong joints, and then we can start to get excited once we've got a fucking strong body and a strong frame. Right, enough of that like little weird introduction. I'm just going to get another page up. Actually, cancel that, right. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying with this stuff, because what I'm saying is have a plan and track your progress. This very sporadic approach, if you were to track all of your sessions, these sporadic sessions where you do whatever you want, sometimes you'll do certain intervals, you'll go into the gym without a plan, and you'll do whatever you feel like doing in that moment. Think about it. Monday, you'll do sprints on a bike, and then you'll do some kettlebell swings and some box jumps and then some flat bench press. If you were to write down the performance of every single thing you did, and then the next day write it down, what's your plan? Have a plan. Measure your progress. You would see week by week there is barely any progress happening. And now certain areas you might go up like increase by about 5%. But your body just doesn't have a clue what's going on. It's in fight or flight. And you can be a little bit better with your decision making. I'd be very interested to see how many of you train many different components of fitness, but actually have a plan when you train, and how many of you measure your progress. Now, I'm not saying this is a complete no-go. For example, when you're competing in sports at a quite high level, that requires multiple different components of fitness to all come together at the right time. Each training day needs to be different. Do you know what I mean? For example, let's say a tennis player. A tennis player needs to be powerful, he needs to be fast, he needs to be agile, he needs to be strong, he needs to be flexible, all of this crazy stuff. Other ones like 400 metre runners, they need to have muscular endurance, they need to have muscular strength, they need to have power, they need to have speed, agility, technique, flexibility. There's a lot going on. However, how they train at the end of their training block to maintain a certain speed is not how they start their training block. And the typical thing I see is people training like they're peaking, they're sharpening all the tools all year round when they've got no tools to actually sharpen. So it's important to focus on one, progress it onto the next thing, progress it onto the next thing, progress it onto the next thing, and sharpen the tools. And the way I like to do that is strength, then explosive strength, power, speed. Just the natural progression. Do you know what I mean? Strength is fairly slow movements. Power is a little bit faster. Speed is even faster than power. That's the natural progression. And as much strength as you can do, how you can lengthen that strength training block will pay dividends to when you go to power. And the longer you do power, the better that's going to serve your speed. And all three of them are your type 2B muscle fibers, which are on the decline when you get to the age of 40. That is the most sensible, logical approach. However, we are human beings and we get excited. Very interested to know how you are doing this, how you are navigating that little battle that a lot of men are having, especially those men that love training hard. Yeah, that's it. That's it for today, gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed this video talking about intensity and navigating the battles of training whatever you want, whenever you want. And it maybe give you something to think about with regards to calming yourself down in the gym, with regards to not having a plan, having a plan, having a bit more of a measured approach, but at the same time training insanely hard as well with that, lengthening out your blocks to benefit the next block where you focus on the next thing and on the next thing, in order to get a lot greater results from your training. If you are one of those people that train lots of different components of fitness, lots of different exercises, sometimes you do a steady run, sometimes you do intervals, sometimes you do sprints, sometimes you do heavy deadlifts, another day you'll do flexibility. Do you have a plan? Do you measure your progress?